Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, whenever you're seeing this. I'm Hal Meng, and I teach adaptive yoga here at the Defiance Ruston Senior Center. Right now, it's like that old saying, we live in challenging and interesting times. And that's why the basis of yoga has always been the idea that we're stilling that confusion that goes on in our minds all the time. So the choices we make can be driven by our inner wants and needs rather than from any kind of tension or chaos. And one of the biggest secrets is to meditate. And so today we're going to start this series of classes dealing mostly with the basic seated techniques that help support meditation, that help support the quieting of the mind. So the breath begins and flows like a wave. We inhale, brief pause, exhale, brief pause. Like a wave coming in, moment of stillness, wave going out, moment of stillness. And for this practice, I encourage you to try to do both the inhale and the exhale through your nose. Now this is a little different than like weightlifting or aerobics or some other practices, which all are legitimate. But for this, breathing in and out through the nose and letting your breath be at its own rate. It's kind of like that old joke about don't think of the pink elephant in the room. Once you start thinking about your breath, our natural instinct is to try to control it. But let that go. Just come back to the breath. So let's take a moment or two to close your eyes and just sit with your breath. Inhale, pause. Exhale, pause. Inhale, pause. Exhale, pause. And then very slowly and gently let your eyes open again. Continue to breathe smoothly, but let go of any control of the breath. So this particular style of yoga is based on moving with your breath, rather than trying to force the breath to match the movement. And so we work on with the natural physiology. When you inhale, there's expansion. The ribs move apart, shoulders lift a little, belly expands. When you exhale, there's a gentle movement back towards center. The ribs gently move together a bit, shoulders relax a little bit more. So as you breathe now, inhale and exhale, try to notice that natural movement without exaggerating it, without forcing it. Just let it be natural. And so to support that movements of the mind towards moments of stillness, where we can let go of that chatter that we always have, it helps to watch the breath, but then also add movement to it that's supported by the breath. So a simple one is just let your arms hang by your sides. And let an inhale start and feel like that inhale lifts your right arm. And I'm always mirroring you. So brief pause. As you exhale, let the arm float down. And as it does, let your head turn gently away from it. Now you're looking in the direction of the other arm. At your pace, when an inhale starts, let that arm float up and let your head back to center. Exhale, coming back down. Good. So that gentle movement, let's do that a few more times. Move at your own pace, always with all of these, when you know where we're going, move at the speed of your breath. I try to set what I would think would be kind of an average pace, but when you know what particular movements we're doing, you follow your own breath. So go ahead, relax some of that tension, and when you're ready, let an inhale start, and the right arm floats up. After a brief pause, let the exhale start, and the head turn. And the other side. And let that be the last one. When you're completely finished, let your head turn back to center. So if you're in the middle of something and I mention a different movement, don't feel like you have to rush. Take your own pace. I don't want anybody to give yourself whiplash trying to keep up with it. Good. Now move away from the back of your chair. So you're having to engage some of your core muscles. And go ahead and interlock your hands over your heart. Now we're going to be focusing on stretching between the shoulder blades because we hold so much tension in the upper back and the neck. Take a nice deep breath through your nose, and as you exhale, press the hands out. Let your shoulder blades move apart. As you inhale, let the arms wrap around your body and shoulder blades slide together. Exhale, shoulder blades apart. Inhale, back together. 2 more times at your pace. And then release. Good. So as I mentioned earlier, I think I've not ever recorded any of these before. And so I realize that some of you may be going, oh man, when I try to lift my arm it hurts and my shoulder, or when I try to bend my wrists like that it hurts. So the caveat for all of this is listen to your body. Only do as much as you feel slightly challenged, but you're not pushing into pain. Pain is always an indication we're doing damage. So back away from that. And over time, if you're doing some of these movements every day, you may find that there is more movement available to you than you thought. If you find after a number of days that you're still experiencing some limitations and pain, don't try to become competitive with yourself and push yourself too hard. Stay within the range where you're challenged, but you're not entering into the zone where you're in pain. Good. So now come back to the center. And there are many different directions of movements. There's forward bending, there's back bending, there's twisting. And so in a practice before we come into meditating at all, we want to get the body through ranges of motion. Today it's all the things that we can do in the chair. So twists. One of our tendencies, especially since the lower back or neck or different areas tend to lock up, when we twist, we try to move with the area that has the most flexibility, and sometimes that encourages us to push too hard in that area. So you want to start with your belly. You start the twist from down around the navel. Because we're such visual creatures, we tend to lead with our heads. But try to keep your nose over the center of your chest, and as you exhale, Gently move from the navel any amount to your right. As you inhale, coming back to the center. Honor those little pauses between the inhales and exhales. One more time to each side, please. And as you become more familiar with these gentle stretches, you can certainly do as many repetitions as you like. You also can come in and hold in various positions. But today we're just going to be going over an overview so that you become familiar mostly with moving with your breath. If that's the only thing we can accomplish today, is getting you more aware of how the breath affects your ability to move, then that's the way to practice. Movements where you're expanding, opening, as you felt with some of these, go better with an inhale. Twisting or forward bending go better with the exhale. So now bring your feet forward a little, and we're going to move once again from below the navel. And rather than rounding your back when you come down, try to keep your back relatively flat and exhale and just come down to the point you're getting a good stretch. And as you inhale, lengthen the whole spine and come back up. Exhale. Move from your navel. Inhale, lengthen, and come back up. Avoid our tendency to try to keep our eyes level. One more time. And then come back to the center. Good. Interlock your hands. Now once again, if you have wrist or shoulder problems, don't push this. And if you can, lift up and stretch and just come to the point where you're getting a good stretch and don't hold your breath, but breathe fully and deeply through the nose. 3 or 4 of your breaths. And when you're ready, push the palms out and let the arms float down like a balloon is deflating. And roll your shoulders 2 or 3 times one way, 2 or 3 times the other. Bring everything back to the center. Good. Another direction is lateral bending. So as you inhale, and as you exhale, come up and once again turn the head. Inhale and exhale. So you can make this movement by just leaning, but imagine that you're coming over like a big exercise ball. Good. And then sweep both arms up. And as you exhale, draw the elbows back slightly. 2 more times like that, and exhale, and inhale, and push the arms out and down. Good. Bring everything back to the center. And we're going to go ahead and end with a little meditative practice. And so it's going to be just letting your breath flow. And sometimes it helps to, get images that help us. And the image I'd like you to use is a wave moving in. Literally visualize the wave moving in as you inhale, moving out as you exhale, and pausing briefly. So go ahead and let your eyes close. Inhale, the wave moves in. Exhale, the wave moves out. Inhale, pause. Exhale, pause. Inhale, pause. Exhale, pause. And sometimes, because we're so verbal, our minds start throwing in conversation.